I say shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there in social media land. This is indeed a great day to be alive. It's the day the Most High have made, whether you realize it or not. It's got nothing to do with whether you're a Bible reader or not, whether you go to nobody's church, or whether you're an Islamic man. This don't have nothing to do with none of that. It has everything to do with the fact that you wouldn't be here if God didn't make the day. So when we open up the video like that, this is a day that the Most High made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. That's what we should be striving to do. I want to talk to some of the brothers and sisters today. I want to look at a couple of the scriptures or parables dealing with wisdom in the book of Proverbs on today. And mind you that wisdom is everywhere that men are. A lot of times we think that wisdom can only be found in somebody's church or somebody's Sabbath class or in some type of religious construct, but that's not true. Wisdom is everywhere that men are. It don't even make no difference whether the men believe in anything on a religious level. That don't mean that they don't have wisdom. See, wisdom is everywhere. And, you know, that's kind of complex right there, because what it's going to do is going to show you the complexity of wisdom. You say, how can a man be what you might call separated from the Most High because of his ignorance and not even have no type of mindset to be moving in that direction? And how could he still manage to be being blessed in this world? How could he have wisdom? He don't think about going to church. He don't think about reading no Bible or nothing. So how you going to say that he can have wisdom? You see, it's real simple. Because wisdom is instruction. And everybody don't have to be told to do something in order for them to do it. So you can have people that's operating, let's take the things of this world, for instance. People that's operating in the things of this world and being successful while they are doing it, you know. Last night I was talking to, I sent one of my sisters a message. And she owns the nightclub. And I sent her a message. And I explained to her what the good work that she was doing, because a lot of times when people look at stuff like nightclubs, they think it's always something that's, you know, something that's wicked, or, you know, something that, you ain't got no business. You see, because that's what we've been taught. But when we look at the book of Proverbs or throughout the scripture, and you start seeing things like the house of mirth, well, the house of mirth exists for a specific reason. It's not to become the grand sum total of your life. Otherwise, you stop it from doing the thing that it was supposed to do. But as I was telling her, I said, because in this life that we live in, if you took the house of mirth away, people would get beat down and broken down, and they wouldn't have no way to get back up. I said, and so the houses of mirth are like another place for another part of life that we might find ourselves in. So that give you the opportunity to go out, to mingle with friends, to listen to some music, to drink some wine, to have a merry heart, to laugh. And you know, in the course of all of that, that's what the House of Mirth was designed to do. It was designed to build a person back up that life had took a lot out of. But we know that brothers and sisters can misuse anything, because you can't live your whole existence in the House of Mirth. There have to be times of joy, and then there have to be times of sorrow. There have to be times where, you know, where you're going through trials, and then there have to be times to where you're being triumphant over your trials, you see? And so it's balance. It's balance to life, and all of these things are needed as long as they're kept in their proper place, you know? So I want my sister to understand that, you know what, you're doing a great work. Because if, like I said, if they took all the houses of mirth away, you know, boy, because you ain't just going to always be able to, God don't expect you to just sit around reading the Bible all day long, doing nothing. Like, you know what? He wants you to be living in this world. So you reading the Bible, but then you going out into this world and you are living according to the things that you are learning. And you learn how to put things in their rightful place. You learn how it's a time for a good time, and then it's a time for mourning, just like you have a funeral or something of that nature. But nobody lives their life in the funeral, the grand sum total of their life in the funeral. And nobody can live the grand sum total of their life in the house of mirth or enjoyment or festivities or like that. So it's dealing with balance. The life had to have balance. And what wisdom brings balance to the life, because it helps us to be able to rightfully divide and put each thing in its proper place. So Solomon said it was a time to laugh, a time to cry, it's a time to live, it's a time to die, it's a time to gather stones, and it's a time to cast away. You know, it's a time of peace, and it's a time of war. He was talking about the life that's been given to us, and it had to be a balanced life. But it takes wisdom in order for the life to be balanced. You see, so we don't become, you know, what we might say judgmental or something like that. So that's what I want to do, and I want to look at some principles of wisdom, especially like for our younger brothers and sisters, or for our brothers and sisters that's not into dealing with the Bible or anything like that. You know what? Wisdom don't have anything to do with that, because if you ain't dealing with the Bible and you out in the world and then you are applying principles of wisdom that's in the Bible, but you don't know that they in the Bible, those principles are working for you in the life that you are living. And in essence, even though you don't know that these things are in the Bible, or you don't know that this is God's wisdom, you are still using it. Henceforth, it becomes a praise and a manifestation of God's rewards, even amongst the people that don't know that they're honoring him. Because you can be doing things in your life and you don't even understand that they scripture. But they producing in your life what the scripture says that they will produce. You just don't know it. Well, the reason why you being blessed and other people that's studying the Bible and reading the Bible and going to church and all this, their life ain't as blessed as yours. You know why? Because they are studying it and they're looking at it, but they're not applying those principles to their life. So they don't receive the reward. Now here's somebody else that ain't studying nothing, ain't going to nobody's church, but they are applying those same principles of wisdom to their life, and it is manifesting great rewards. You see? And somebody that's in the book that won't apply it, look at them and say, oh, well, you know, the devil blessed them. The devil. No, it ain't the devil blessing them. They could be applying principles of wisdom to their decision making. And they could be having discipline in areas that you don't have discipline in. And that by itself is wisdom too. And as a result of that, they benefit from it. So we want to go into some of those things. But before we do, like say shouts out. Once again, we're going to say shouts out to our sister Cam here in Kansas City, Missouri, with Club 31. The amount of energy and the amount of time and the amount of money that have been invested into that place. And she herself can't benefit from it. It only becomes a benefit to her is when it becomes a benefit to people. And then people come. You see? But to the people that's out here and they're investing their energy and their time and their money, you know what I mean? We want them brothers and sisters to be successful. You know what I mean? In what they doing. They're going to be successful in what they doing because, as I said before, they're applying principles of wisdom. And that's how it happens like that. By wisdom is a house built. By understanding, it is established. And by knowledge, it is filled with all type of precious substance and the things that are needed to make it be what it's supposed to be. That's somebody's dog out there. Yeah, so yeah, yeah. So we want to encourage the brothers and sisters, and so we're going to be putting forth a series of videos dealing with wisdom. I also was on the phone with a sister this morning, and it's not something that I haven't said before, but I'll say it again. That when you are learning, when you're reading the Bible and you are learning the Bible, you have to let wisdom have its way with you first, so that it can teach you how it is that you're supposed to use what you're learning. So if you young and you have mother and father out there, aunties and uncles that are older than you, and you are learning the scripture, don't bother them. Don't bother them. Because if you bother the generation that was before you, you're going to incur injury to yourself, because they're not supposed to see what you see. To our young brothers and sisters, whatever it is that's being revealed, that's what the word revelation is. It is something that's being hidden, and it will be revealed at a point in time. So the revelation is being revealed in this hour, in this generation. Those things that you are learning, they're not for you to go backwards with, because your parents, they had a generation too, to where God revealed things in their generation. What he revealed to them caused them to be able to preserve us. You see, and it's not our responsibility to go backwards and try to get them where we are. God gave them everything they need. I don't care what they doing. They could be still celebrating Christmas. They could still be celebrating Thanksgiving. They could still be into this. They can be into that. They can be into all that. And the reason why I say that is because through their generation, they were living by things and they were doing things, but it was not for wicked reasons. In this generation, there have been an explosion of information, and now we, through revelation, can see what's at the root of a thing. And that causes us not to be able to do it. But God didn't show them what he showed you. You see? And so he gave them everything that he needed to preserve us, so that we could receive the revelation for our generation. And we're not to look backwards. We're to take what has been given to us and now propel it forward. Yeah, we're to propel it forward to the generation that's coming after us, not before us. I don't know whose truck that is. Yo, man, I don't know whose truck that is. They just parked it right there and got out and walked off. Shut up. I don't know whose car that is. They just parked and got out and oh, there he is, right? Who in this car? Shut up. Yeah, so sorry about that. Oh, you got the nerve enough to bark. Yeah, sorry about that. But you know, so yeah, so we had to prepare. We had to take our revelation of this generation, and then we had to preserve the generation that's coming after us. And so a lot of times I was showing them that we can love our parents and everything, and we want them to know what we know. But the Most High never meant for the children to teach the parents. You see? And so when we go backwards with what God has given us, we incur injury to ourselves, because now it seems like, my mom and them, they don't want to hear it. They mad. I can't go around. No, it's not that they don't want to hear it. It's that they can't hear it. And you don't have wisdom. So you're using what you know in ways that are unproductive. So to brothers and sisters that's in that condition, just don't do that. Take what you're learning and then apply it to your life, and let your loved ones that are older see it working in your life. Because until then, you'll have problems, because they'll think, oh, he's a part of a cult now. I don't know what he's talking about. He's like Hebrew Israelite and this and that. And they know we done brought them up. They Christians, and we done came through church and all of that. See, that's what the Most High gave them. That's the revelation that he gave them to preserve us. You see? But the revelation that we are receiving is a far greater truth and a greater understanding that wasn't given to them. And it ain't for you to go and give it to them. It's for you to toss out there to the generation that's going to come behind you. So, I want brothers and sisters to understand that, it ain't everybody's fault. And everybody don't like you. And everybody ain't against you. It's just that you are using what God have given you in the wrong way. And you're incurring injury to yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the book of Proverbs. And if you don't get wisdom, you won't get understanding. And if you don't get understanding, you won't be able to comprehend the Bible that you are handling. And what you'll do is you'll teach people things and they'll get the wrong meaning. They'll get the wrong thing out of what they're supposed to do. And so when we go into this book of Proverbs, we know that through those parables, the words of the wise and their dark sayings, those are God's mysteries that are hidden. And he hide them for a reason, because if your heart ain't right and your heart ain't, and the intent of your heart and your motive is not pure, then God ain't going to reveal those mysteries to you, because you'll turn those things into wickedness by not using them for the right thing. So when we go into these Proverbs, we're going to show you that this is where your learning is going to start, because wisdom is simply instruction. And so you can read all of the rest of the book, but if you ain't got the instructions on how to understand it, precept on precept, line on line, here a little, there a little, if you ain't got the understanding on how to decipher it, if you don't understand that the Bible is a secret and you can't just get those secrets by reading. You can read through the whole Bible. You can back up in reverse and read from Revelation to Genesis. You can start in the middle and do whatever. But if you don't get wisdom, because with understanding the Bible, there is a methodology that the Most High strategically carved out. And that's where the wisdom come in at. You can try to do it your own way, but that's going to be unfruitful. So we're going to look at wisdom. And I tell you, wisdom is a very perplexed thing, complicating thing when you really look at it for what it is. Because you have to say, what is wisdom? Well, God calls it a her. So its nature is feminine. But what exactly is it? It was there before anything was, before the Lord. But you couldn't put your hand on it, or you couldn't see it. So what is it? It was rejoicing. It had the ability to rejoice and all of that. You know what I mean? But so we'll start looking at this, and then we'll get to see firsthand. And to my brothers and sisters out there, you might not know nothing about the Bible. Well, you don't have to know about the Bible, because the Bible ain't the grand sum total. Life is. You see, as long as you living, you connected to the Most High. Men try to make other men feel foolish with that. Well, pastors used to say, well, you need a covering. You need a covering over your life. Somebody need to cover you. Or they'll change things like, well, you got to obey them that have rule over you, as though God had given one man rule over another man. But these are the things that have happened, and that have made people that wasn't a part of these organizations think that they were separated from God. Well, ain't no way you can be separated from God if you woke up this morning and if you breathing and you understand that the air don't belong to you, you are connected fully to the Most High through the life that He have given you, not through no religious construct. So we don't want brothers and sisters that look onto this page to think that this is about some type of religion, because it ain't. This is about living. We just use the scripture a lot so that the living people that ain't been living by scripture, we can point out areas in their life that they, even though they don't know scripture, that they've been living by it. You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to do. And while I get myself together, I'm going to put on the song. Mind y'all, we're going to get a blast from the past from King Moshe. And so what we want to do, wisdom wants to plug you in. He wants to plug you in. Because anything that comes unplugged don't have no power to it, baby. If I go over there and I snatch the plug out the wall, all of that stuff got to stop. You see? And that's how wisdom is. You need to be plugged in. We need to be plugged in. If you say that you God's child, outside of all them other things, because people that ain't set foot in the church or been a part of nothing, ain't picked their Bible up in 40 years to still say, you know what, thank God for another day. That's because they living. So if you God's child and you living, we want you to be plugged in. And you don't have to have no understanding of the Bible, because those that truly get understanding and get wisdom, they will be able to make plain what the Bible is saying with ordinary conversation that we live by on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to drop this King Moshe Ben Yehuda on YouTube. Go and subscribe to his channel. We're trying to raise our brothers up so that they can start taking advantage of these platforms, you know what I mean? They can start gleaning them some money. But we want the music to be out there. So Moshe Ben Yehuda on YouTube. Go subscribe to the channel. You're going to find that the music is fire. This is pick you up music, okay? And we want you to get plugged in. So we're going to drop this one here on you. This is titled, I Got the Plug. It's titled, I Got the Plug. I got the plug. You know what it's like when we was in the street, boy. I got the plug. I got the plug. I got the plug. Show me some love. What's up? But see, this plug is far different. It's far different. So let's go with the video.
Yeah, it's your Moshe on track with your boy Judah Black. Yeah. Hey, you know we got the plug on that word, right? Hey, Scum Seas, we got you, man. Whatever precept you need. I got the plug, I got the plug, I got the plug, I got the plug, I got the plug. Yeah. My hero, what's up? What's up? What's up? Show me some love. Show me some love. We got what you want. We got what you want. Line up on precepts. It's in the book. Yeah. I got the plug. 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 My hero, what's up? My hero, what's up? Show me some love. Hey, show me some love. We got what you want. We got what you want. Line up on precepts. It's all in the book. Yeah. I know the plug. You know the plug. The Father and Son. The Father and Son. Go get this word. Go get this word. As much as you want. As much as you want. I'm popping the trunk. I'm popping the trunk. I'm putting that heat. I'm putting that heat. None on preset. Yeah, son by three. Come get your tree. Get your tree. I know you a tree. I know you a tree. That fire you see. That fire you see. I got it in. I got it in. Go buy the leaders. Go get you a tree. Go get you a tree. I keep that king change. Yeah, it's 23. Yeah, I'm putting in work. I'm putting in work. I'm moving that word. I'm moving that word. We hitting the block. We hitting the block. Like it's the first. Like it's the first. Sons 42 and 2. Making them first. Making them first. The longer you stay away, the symptoms get worse. Hey, I got the plug. 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 Yeah. My hero, what's up? What's up? What's up? Show me some love. Show me some love. We got what you want. We got what you want. Line up on precepts. It's all in the book. Hey, I got the plug. 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 My hero, what's up? My hero, what's up? Show me some love. Show me some love. We got what you want. Got it on precepts. It's all in the book.
Love them to the highest topic. Light them up is the protocol. Can't twist it, I pull it, then bop it. Nickname is to know it all. Script game, you know it's sharp. 6 days in our zone. Setting it up like cones. Then I swerve through like Rome. No romance in Rome. So they vacate to the worst tropic. All lit like the worst pocket. Still bent, purse rocking. Panam Moshedo. Still lit from that first socket. Panam Moshedo. Still rich from that first profit. He said, let it be light. We said, blessed be you. And every letter we write is only the better approved. Just to better the news. Call us the medical Jews. Every precept is used. Electrical plug in.
I got the plug. 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 Yeah. My hero, what's up? What's up? What's up? Show me some love. Show me some love. We got what you want. We got what you want. Line up on precepts. It's all in the book.
Yeah, I got the plug.
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 My hero, what's up?
My hero, what's up?
Show me some love.
Show me some love.
We got what you want.
We got what you want.
Line up on precept. Yeah, it's all in the book. Hey, South 71 music. That was the sounds of my big baby King Moshe. He's on YouTube, Moshe Ben Yehuda. Please go and subscribe to the channel so his numbers can start coming up. And as I said before, you ain't doing them no favors. You're going to do yourself some favors, because when you're going to get wisdom, that means that you have to have your ears open. You have to have your eyes open. And for every opportunity that men are speaking, there is something that you can learn from that, no matter where you at, that'll make you better off. Because that's what wisdom is designed to do. So I'm going to pull out a couple of key verses in here, and then I'm just going to take off, and we're just going to start reading from the beginning, because I'm aiming to go through this whole book so that the Most High, this is the impartation of the Most High's instruction to everybody that has life in their body. And we're going to keep reinforcing this. This don't have anything to do with no Christianity. It don't have anything to do with no Israelite heritage. It don't have anything to do with no Islam or any other religious construct. This is dealing with the people that are living, that have life. Whether you are absent from those things, it's dealing with you that have life. Whether you are Christian, it's dealing with you to have life. Whether you are Israelite, it's dealing with you to have life. Whether you identify with the religious institutions of this world or not, that has nothing to do with wisdom. So that's where we're going to start, right there. I'd like to say good afternoon to all of you brothers and sisters. So we're going to give you some foundation of what wisdom is and what wisdom is aiming to do, so that we can start directing our secrets. When our brothers and sisters really start getting wisdom, it won't be no argument in nothing. Everybody will be walking together in cohesiveness. And that's what the scripture means when it says that when a new covenant be established, not like the one that our forefathers got, the covenant which they break. But this covenant, it will be, I will put my law in their inward parts. I knew that phone was going to ring sooner or later. Hold on, y'all. Let me call them right back. Okay. So, but yeah. But this ain't got nothing to do with no construct. If you're outside of it, the wisdom gonna apply to your life. And if you within these constructs, those constructs won't produce no fruit for you unless you can get this wisdom. So either way it go, everything that have life got to get wisdom. And so that's why we in the condition that we in, arguing all over the place and everything, you know what I mean? That's because it's an absence of wisdom. Now, he going to put his law in our inward parts, and then he going to put it in our mind. And the reason why he going to do that is that so no man will ever have to teach another man anything about God. No man shall teach his neighbor, saying, know the Lord. See, that's wisdom. And when we all get wisdom, don't nobody need to teach us nothing. Every man knows what the Father's will is for the life that he had given him to live. And everybody stays within the framework of where wisdom is instructing them, where their life is concerned. And he said, and then we'll all have cohesiveness. And that is where you get in Zephaniah, 3rd chapter, where it says, then I will restore unto my people a pure language, and they will all walk together in cohesiveness. You see, it ain't even so much as talking about the Hebrew language being reinstituted, even though we know that that's going to be the grand summation of it. That's going to be the grand. But what we're really talking about is when we all start being guided by the wisdom according to the Father's will for our lives as individuals, we will now have a new language, because what the new language is designed to do is bring the whole thing into a place of cohesiveness. You see? So, you said Jeremiah chapter 5, who is the ancient nation? Well, I can tell you one thing. Israel ain't the ancient nation, because Israel is the youngest nation that was born. You see, you got You had the nations that you had. You had Ham, Shem, Japheth. Ham is the father of the African nations, okay? Canaan, Ethiopia, Cush, and Egypt, or Mitzrayim. Those were the dominant rulers of the world, okay? There you had the sons of Japheth. Gomer, Magog, Madai, Meshach, Tiras, Tubal. These were the people that were spread all over the world. Their posterity was spread all over the world. Then you had the sons of Shem. You see? So you talking about, when you start talking about who's the old ancient nation, you're going into a place to where ain't no man can give you no wisdom in that area. So I'll give you something for that. The Bible says, strive not after things that are too high for thy understanding, but rather cling to the things that you can comprehend. Keep the commandments, keep the 7 laws that God gave to Adam. We can comprehend that. But when we start talking about that, you can't put Israel on the same plateau. Because Israel, when Israel came into existence, it was only 60 people. The nation of Egypt was already in the world, already the known rulers of every other nation. So you start talking about the Philistines was already here, the Canaanites was already here, the Girgashites, the Hittites, all of those people, because Israel didn't give birth into a nation until he came out of Egypt. And when he came out of Egypt, all those other nations were already in the world. So we cannot say or get the mindset like Israel is the ancient nation. Unless you're talking about it being ancient from the standpoint of the Most High being ancient of days and knew what nation he would choose to funnel his program into the world. But you're talking about a physical ancient nation, it definitely is not Israel, because Israel is the baby of the whole family. So now I hope you I hope that did you some good, King. So let's go and dive in here, and yeah, and we give you brothers and sisters get the right to answer some questions. If some come across you, you can answer them, and then we're gonna go in here and pray that the Most High by His Spirit gonna give us wisdom in those particular areas. Shouts out to you, Sister Lynn. It's one of my Kansas City sisters. We just dealing with being wise. You know what I mean? We ain't dealing with no churchified religiosity type of stuff. We're dealing with real life and making wise decisions so that we can have a better life. So we want to bring you up to speed on that. It says, ancient nation came against us. God sent them. Oh yeah, well see, all the nations came against us. So in that context right there, then every nation that ever came against us was an ancient nation. You see? And what makes them ancient is that they were older than us. They were here before we got here, and that's what makes them ancient. But there have been many ancient nations that have come against us, you see? So, but even as I tell the brothers and sisters, when you start exercising wisdom, you have to understand that ain't nothing that's dealing with anything ancient gonna have no direct impact on your life while you living, you see? Because everything ancient is dead, and you one day will be ancient, but you got to live your life. You will become ancient to your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren. You are now the ancient one. And when they speak about you, they'll speak about you from the life that you was living, but you ain't no longer living. So even though you know you connected to that, you ain't got no direct impact on the life of your great-grandchildren when you dead. Now, when you alive, that's something else. So we don't want to exert no lot of energy in dealing with nothing that is ancient. It's good to know, and we can learn a lot of things for our personal edification and for our personal learning for people that have a desire to study things, you see? But to just don't exert your energy there, King. Yep. And then when you want to talk about something like that, then you get with some of your other brothers that are like-minded, and then you got the right to just dive in and rip that stuff to shred, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can rip all that to shred. It ain't going to help you pay your light bill. It ain't going to help you when it comes to raising your children. It ain't going to help you when it comes to how do I keep peace in my home with my wife. See, ain't nothing ancient going to help you to deal with that, because everything ancient is dead And once the thing dead, it loses all contact with the things of this world. You see? So long as and wisdom teaches us how to keep everything in its proper place so that we can have balance. Yeah. Yeah, so we can have balance. So, yeah, well, you speak in English, brother. The prophetic word did what it said. Because you were going to a land that neither you nor your fathers know. There you will serve other gods. You even been a worshiper of gods that you didn't know. And yes, you speak in a language that you didn't know. But see, God is amongst living men. So he says, through stammering lips and a foreign speech will I speak to this people that are living. You see? So right now you speaking by a language that your ancestors never knew. But that ain't got nothing to do with your ancestors. That have everything to do with the Father. So, okay, let's go. Let's take off running to the book of Proverbs. We're going to start here, and we're going to show you something about wisdom. Yep, so let's go. We're going to deal with this on wisdom. Let's go to, because I know it's people that want to do some great things in this world, and it don't make no difference whether you're trying to build a business, whether you're trying to get your house right, or whether you're trying to, establish good relationships with people, or whether you're trying to repair some broken relationships. Wisdom is what helps you and teach you how to do all of those things. So, we're going to look at, this is the first chapter of Proverbs. It says, wisdom cries aloud in the streets. Wisdom cries aloud in the streets. Wisdom don't cry aloud in books. Do y'all feel what I'm saying? Wisdom does not cry aloud in books. That's why you ever heard people say that people that go to college and stuff like that, they're very intellectual, but they don't have common sense. You see? Wisdom cries aloud in the streets amongst men that are living. And if you exert all your energy into reading books and studying and stuff like that, you will gain information, but you won't have wisdom because you don't find wisdom there. Wisdom cries aloud in the streets, in the markets. She raises her voice. At the head of the noisy streets, she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates, she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? And how long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? Wisdom is everywhere that men are. And it makes no difference whether you're at your job, whether you're at the car lot, whether you're at the grocery store, whether you're at the nightclub, whether you're at the basketball court, whether you're at the skating rink. Anywhere that men are, wisdom is there. Crying out, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And you'd be surprised at how many people spend their life in books and spend their life in religious constructs, and when they come out in the street, they trying to woo somebody into what they know. And they themselves are the one that wisdom is saying, come on, Christian brother. How long will you simple ones love simplicity? How long will you scorners delight in your scorner? To love simplicity is to have a closed mind, to think that only you have laid hold on something that is grand. And when you come out, you miss wisdom, because wisdom is crying in the streets amongst men and amongst women. How long will you scorners delight in your scorner? And you become a scorner or a scoffer when you think that something is wrong with everybody else in the world and nothing's wrong with you. But you don't hear anything that's in the street where wisdom is crying, because you have alienated yourself from those places with a vain ideology that somehow or another, because you are part of the construct of men, you are now somehow a little bit better. Well, wisdom is saying, you know what? She crying in the streets. She crying in the streets to our young brothers that's hurting each other. How long? How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity and you scorners delight in scorning? How long you going to keep killing each other? How long you going to keep hurting each other? How long you going to keep bucking up against the instructions that you know are right? How long are you going to love simplicity when we show you the systematic schemes, how it's designed for you to end up in jail working for $2 a month for the next 30 years? How long? But you got to get this money. How long? Or you going to be simple with your life? When wisdom is crying, hey, there's a better way, boy. Go to work, man. Get your stuff together. Put you together in business. How long? See, wisdom cries in the street, because in the street is where you find every culture, every ideology, every worldview, every perspective. And wisdom is there to deal with all of them. How long will you love simplicity, Israelite man, to think that God chose you and you don't know what you're chosen for? How long will you love simplicity to go into a box and now alienate yourself from the very people that the Mashiach told you to go into the world and make disciples out of? How long? How long? How long shall we gloat about Israel because they were the chosen one, as though that is some type of gold ring with diamonds or some type of royalty that just gets accredited to our account? How long will we love simplicity to be able to declare that I'm Israel, but not be leaving a stain or impact on this world that we are living in? How long will you simple ones love simplicity and you scorners delight in your scorning? To scorn and to delight in scorn is to mock God. And we mock God when we think that we know the grand sum total of the Most High's will for not just mankind, but for creation as well. So these things, wisdom touches every area of life, every single area. How long will you simple ones love simplicity when you know wisdom tells you to go to the ant, thou sluggard, and consider her ways? How long will you love simplicity that the ant don't have no guide or no overseer, but yet you always want to be up under somebody trying to learn something so that you can think that that's going to make it? How long you going to love simplicity? And you scorners delight in scorning and mock God. It ain't but one way to get what God got for you. And that means that you're going to have to develop wisdom so that you can make the right set of choices. You see, God ain't a magician and he ain't Santa Claus. When you get wisdom, you'll make a better set of choices. And that better set of choices will produce a better set of results. And so if you don't like the way you're living, then change the way that you're building. That's with anybody. That's a blanket. This ain't got nothing to do with no type of ideology, period. You're in a bad relationship. How long, you simple ones, are you going to love simplicity and you scorners delight in scorning? Well, you know you want to have a good relationship, sister, just close your legs. Because can't no man get up in there unless you open them up. But since you know that God don't want you fornicating, you understand what I'm saying? How long will you love simplicity and delight in scorning? Because you can't mock God. You can't think that you're going to have a good relationship and a great man when you start off breaking what God's wisdom telling you, that you're pure, that you're wholesome, that you're lovely, that you're beautiful, that you're a flower, and that you're a rose in his presence, and tell you, don't open up your quiver to every man. And yet that is what we find ourselves doing, because we don't hear the cry of wisdom. But when you hear the cry of wisdom, you understand I'm fearfully, marvelously made in the image of God. I'm too much woman to just allow any man. Oh no, baby, if you want me and you think I'm special, you're going to have to dive all the way in head first. I need to have the whole kit and caboodle. See, when wisdom will help you make a better set of choices, fellas, that don't want to pay child support for your kids? How long you gonna love simplicity? How long? Didn't you know when you laid down that the possibility that she could get pregnant, she could have a baby? How long will you love simplicity? So too simple to put a condom on. But in the back of your mind, you know it really ain't about the condom. It's about you entering into an act of fornication that is against God, because you know if you don't have a man or a woman, if you don't have a husband or a wife, then you don't have nothing. But see, we scorn in our scorning, and we don't want to hear God's wisdom when it comes. And because we reject wisdom, we make a set of bad choices that we have to live with. On child support, just got off child support, and now I'm right back on there again, because a fool, only way you can tell the difference between a fool and a wise man is how he reacts when he's faced with the same situation again. Now, I done finished that. Now I find myself right back in it. Now I got another 16 years. You understand what I'm saying? 16 years of complaining about the baby's mama. 16 years complaining about the baby's daddy. But never coming to accept the responsibility that it's my fault. Because I knew couldn't nobody tamper with me or couldn't nobody touch me except I transgressed or I went against the wisdom that was telling me that. You see? So if you don't like the way that you're living, then you have to change the way that you're building. And wisdom is what makes the difference, because wisdom you'll make a better set of choices. So I'm just showing you that wisdom is on every level of life, every single level of life that it is. Wisdom is there, crying out, you know what I mean? Trying to get us to make the right set of choices. So it says, if you turn when I correct you, behold, I'll pour my spirit out on you, and I'll make my words known unto you. You see that, how bad that is for brothers and sisters that want wisdom? Peace and blessings be upon you, Yirmiyahu. Sorry I didn't get with you yesterday. It was my big brother's birthday, and we ended up being out all day and didn't get back in probably until close to midnight. So, but we still gonna get that video done. Now, brothers and sisters, if you have made a bad set of choices, and many of us are making bad sets of choices because of the absence of wisdom, he said it's a simple thing. If you'll turn around when I correct you, he said, if you'll turn at my correction, I'll pour my spirit out on you, and I'll make my words known to you. See, if you'll turn around when wisdom correct you, and wisdom is in the yielded vessel of men. And back when we was coming up as children, we grew up with a far more advanced understanding of wisdom, because the elder men, they could correct us. You see, in order for wisdom to cry, wisdom had to be crying through somebody's mouth. In order for wisdom to see, she had to be seeing through somebody's eyes. You see? And so when we came up, it was all right in a parent's eyes if another parent chastised you, or another parent corrects you, or another parent rebuked you. And this is what God's saying, because that previous generation that we trying to buck against because we learning things written in books, he said that previous generation, they had the right, and they would give you instruction, which is wisdom. And that wisdom will cause you to make a better set of choices. And based on those choices, it will put your life in a better place. You see? But in this hour, it's hard to impart wisdom. It's hard to get people to turn when they're corrected, because they don't see them being corrected by God, who gives wisdom to a man, and then wisdom cries from that man's voice to a brother and sister. In this hour, they don't see it like that. They see it as though the individual is doing it, not knowing. So what happens is that you end up rejecting it. He said, but if you'll turn, if you'll stop being so simple-minded and understand that chastisement, constructive criticism, and correction is a part of growth. It's a part of the growth process. You see, now that we try to give somebody some wisdom and correct them, They mad. They going off. You done cussed the older person out. You done cussed the person that God sent over there to watch over you, to look at you, and to make sure that you stay in the right place. He said, if you'll turn in my reproof, I'll pour my spirit out on you. And then I'll show you my words. You see? You don't just run up and get wisdom. Wisdom, you have to be able to follow instructions in order to get it. And as you follow instructions, she compounds more instruction on top of instruction and releases more wisdom on top of more wisdom on top of more wisdom. But it will be based on what you're able to receive. So he said, if you'll turn, then I'll show you my words. So don't think that anybody gonna get God's words when you won't turn, when you won't turn around, when you don't do things a different way. I remember when we was out there in the street, you know what I mean? You see, I talk about drugs and I talk about crack. I talk about the things that they are so detestable in other people's eyes. I talk about them because of the different places that I have been, you know. But when we was dealing with the crack and all of that, it wasn't no epidemic like that. It wasn't about the destruction of our people. It wasn't like you was trying to, you had no idea that what level that you was going to sink to on these things. It was just no different than another fad that blew in. And then we start doing those different things. You understand what I'm saying? But the reality is this. At some point, wisdom will come in and show you, hey, you know what? If you keep going this route, you're going to be in trouble. So it's like, okay, when you see your life going in a place that ain't supposed to be going in, you got to be willing to turn around and do something different. And so one of the sayings that we had when it came to us dealing with crack and smoking primos and all of that stuff, when you really came to understand, man, I didn't mean to spend that much money, man. Damn, nigga, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, man. My wife gonna kill me. You ain't meaning to go out, go that far, you know what I'm saying? But when you do go there and you say, hey, you know what? I got to make some changes. I got to make some changes, man. I see my boy down here. I got to make some changes. And what me and one of my partners, we used to say, because we'd have went too far, and then we'll find ourselves sitting amongst each other with our heads in our laps, feeling sorry about what we done went through, you know what I mean? And then we say things like, you know what, man, we got to make some changes. But the reality of that, wisdom will show you this. Hey, man, it ain't going to be about what you say you need to do. Because if you keep doing the same thing that you've been doing without changing anything, it is a form of insanity to have an expectancy that something is going to change. You got to be the one to change. And sometimes change is dealing with being able to turn around and go in another direction and make a better set of choices. That's just being realistic. This is not science fiction. That's being realistic. If you started off and you just having you a little sip and this, and then it turned into you buying a bottle every day and it got to be in your pocket, and you see that thing and you have to say, you know what? I don't like the way my life is going right now. But guess what? Your life going to go farther and farther if you're not willing to turn, if you're not willing to change nothing. And that's the plight of all of our lives, because all of our lives have areas in them that require change. They require change. You can't have a good relationship if you can never see yourself as a wife. You can never have a good relationship if you can never see yourself as a husband. The only thing you can do is see yourself as one failed relationship after the next, because you're not willing to make no changes. But if you make changes, say, I ain't doing it no more. I want a man that I can just spend the rest of the time that I got, and I want somebody I can live my life with till it's time for me to lay down and die. And brother can be saying the same thing. But let me tell you something. That's going to require you changing. Because now you're going to have to change the type of people that you look at. You're going to have to change the type of things that you have an expectancy for. You're going to have to change the things that you are accustomed to doing that make you prone to make the same decision over and over and over again. You're going to have to change that. And if you can't change that, then you won't get what you're supposed to have. You won't get it. And we want brothers to understand that, We want our sisters to understand. The Most High don't mean for you to be by yourself. I don't care about all that crap Paul talking about. The Most High didn't make, he don't make, can't no man be complete without no woman. And can't no woman be complete without no man, because man was created, male and female, in the day he was created. And then the separation took place. So it's like, brother, you got to understand, half of you is gone. And if you only dealing with that other half of yourself because you controlled by your hormones, you are hating yourself. That woman is the other half of you. And when you get ready to hook yourself up to a woman, you need to be to look at that woman. You need to be to look at yourself first as to what you want to do with your life. And then you need to look at that woman and you need to find the right woman. And ain't no perfect women. Most women have already been scarred because they've been dragged through the mud at the hands of men that live their life without wisdom, controlled by their hormones. So there is going to be a level of patience and perseverance. I don't care what woman you get. And if you keep on just dropping a relationship here, dropping a relationship there, dropping a relationship there, never having a desire to move into places of husbandry, ain't no way for you to experience the grandeur of the life that God means for you to experience. And it's the same for you sisters. You see? Well, I can't find no good man. Ain't no good man out here. Man, these sisters out. That's not true. That's not true. Because the good man or the good woman starts with you. How good are you? You see, do you have the wisdom that it takes? Because it's going to take wisdom to translate the woman or a man that you hook yourself up to into what they're supposed to be. That's why God put you together, because you need each other. But if you can never see yourself from the standpoint of husbandry or from the standpoint of being a wife, then you've already settled for less. And God ain't going to give you what you're supposed to have because you keep fornicating and stuff like that. And then you become your worst enemy because you won't turn around. And so for the brothers and sisters that's chasing after wisdom, wisdom is a two-headed coin. It's a double-edged sword. But it speaks on every level of life. You see? So when we start talking about wisdom, we ain't talking about no religious junk. And we're going to see that because we're going to use life scenarios in order to make these words plain. So he said, now, if you'll turn around and correct yourself when I correct you, then I'll make my words known to you. Making my words known to you is being able to give you the answers, giving you the solutions to your problems. That's God revealing his words to you. I can minimize the mistakes that you're making if you'll turn around. You see? So he said, but here's something that's grand. Because if it's written like this, that means that this is how it's happening. He said, because I have called and you refuse to listen, I stretched out my hand and no one has taken heed, because you have ignored all of my counsel and you would not receive none of my correction. I also gonna laugh at your calamity, and I'm a mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind. When distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call on me, and I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, and they will not find me. This is the brother that wouldn't turn around when he seen his life going in the wrong direction. Now, all of your money's gone because you wouldn't stop smoking every day. All of your money's gone. You've brought turmoil on your house because he who troubles his own house shall inherit the wind. So now the marriage is gone and in trouble. Now the business is gone and in trouble. Now the relationship is gone. It's in trouble. Everything that was going on that was good, because you wouldn't change, because you wouldn't try something different. He said, now when everything is gone, now all of the respect is gone. Now that you've been found on the ground, you don't have the cars no more. You don't have the clothes no more. And all the brothers and all wisdom was telling you is, man, leave this stuff alone. Man, leave this stuff alone. And if you can't control it, if nothing else, you got to at least be able to get control of it. But you can't let it keep controlling you. You didn't want to hear that. You didn't want to hear that, what we was telling you. Sister, that's a good man that you got. He ain't a perfect man, but he's a good man. And you need to change your ways. It's all right for you to be soft. I know your mom and them was hard. I know Auntie and them was hard. But it's all right for you to show that man some affection. But you would not change. And then the man that was paying the bills is gone. The man that was paying the car payment is gone. The man that was paying the insurance is gone. The man that was looking after the children that wasn't even his, that was being a good father to him that didn't have one, now he's gone. And God is saying, now that you find yourself in that bad place, the good woman that you had is gone. There are many of us that know what it's like to lose something that was good in our life because of our foolishness. And when people come to correct you, oh, yo, you can't tell me nothing. I'm a man. I'm a grown man. I know what I'm doing. I'm this, that, the other. And at the end of the day, you was a grown man, but you was in rebellion against a holy and righteous God. And then you lost that good thing. And now the woman is gone. And now the children that used to come crawl up in your lap, that you've been there since they came out of the womb, calling you daddy, 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 the arguments, the fights, the fussing, it's all gone. And now it ain't nothing but silence. Now everything is gone. All because you wouldn't change. He said, then you'll start calling on me. Oh, God, please send her back. Oh, God, please send her back. Oh, God, help me get off of this stuff. Oh, God, please give me my business back. He said, and when you start doing that, he said, I'm going to laugh at you. He said, I'm going to laugh at you. When your calamity come up on you like a terrible storm. He said, and when trouble and anguish come up on you like a whirlwind, he said, you're going to start seeking me early. Now you're ready to do what I told you to do. Now you looking for that wisdom that was crying out in the streets. Every place that you was, you looking for that now. He said, but you shall seek me early, but you won't find me. And then he tell you why. Because when I called, you wouldn't answer. You didn't want to hear that. Oh, man, go on. Don't nobody want to hear that Bible stuff. Oh, no, they don't hear that Bible. But now that you're sleeping in a homeless shelter and in your memory bank, you knew that you had a nice car, a nice wife, a nice house, a good life, a good job. And now you ain't got nothing. Now you want to hear what the word of God got to say. But he said, I'll hide myself from you. He said, because when I called and tried to correct you, I tried to stop you before you got to the point to where you brought destruction in your life. He said, but none would answer. He said, when I stretched out my hand, none would respond. None would take heed to the wisdom that was coming their way. He said, you wouldn't listen. You wasn't willing to change nothing. And this message ain't dealing with just people out there to y'all. This message, this is myself included. I'm included in the video. I'm the mouthpiece, but this is God's word. I'm included too. I have lost many things and still have decisions that have to be made. Still have to fight and wrestle with my own self because of how I want to do it. In most cases, the way we want to do it is how we always have done it, how we became used to doing it. And that is the thing that will clog our flow up. And that's why we don't get the breakthroughs, because we ourselves are not willing to change anything. We ain't. So, but sometimes that hardship come and then it makes us change. But there be a season that when you decide to pray, please, God be like, man, I ain't hearing that joker. Psst, whatever. He praying to you, God. He praying, man. Get out of here with that. I ain't hearing him. I ain't listening to that joker. So he said the reason why is because we hated knowledge. You see, And most of the times, the Most High's knowledge always goes against the knowledge that we have or the things that we see. Because our knowledge, we pick and choose what knowledge we're going to adapt to. We adapt knowledge and we stick knowledge to us based on what we like, and that's the knowledge that we run to. But see, God's knowledge don't deal with us based on what we like. God's knowledge always deal with us according to our weak areas, our insufficient areas, areas that if they were made better, we could become better people. But we hate God's knowledge when it comes. Because God's knowledge is telling you, oh, no, baby, you need to do something different than what you're doing. I don't even want to hear that mess. I don't even want to hear you can't blame that for nothing. I ain't even listening to all that mess right there. It's, you just made bad decisions, bad choices. That's how the Father feels. And so we hate his knowledge when it comes. So, blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets an understanding. For the gain of her is better than the gain of silver, and her profit is better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you can desire can compare to her. Long life is in her right hand, and in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all of her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them who lay hold on her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. The Lord, by his wisdom, founded the earth. By his understanding, he established the heavens. And by his knowledge, the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down the dew. Now, this is going to be what wisdom is designed to do with men. But it's also going to show you that this instruction preceded men before men were ever even. Men come as a result of the Most High's wisdom. And so it says, does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? At the crossroad, she takes her stand. Besides the gates in the front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud, to you, O men, I call, and my cry is to the children of man. O simple ones, learn prudence. O fools, learn sense. For I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come things that are right. My mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them. And they are all straight to him who understands. And they are right to him who finds knowledge. Take my instruction instead of silver, and take my knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare to her. Now, the Most High is putting emphasis on what is great. What is the greatest thing that a man can have while he lives his life under the sun? It is not the house, it is not the car, it is not the money, it is not the women. It is the wisdom. He said, ain't nothing that you can ask for should be compared to this. Nothing you can desire in your heart can compare to wisdom. She is better than everything. Now ask yourself this question. When we look at the life that we're living, and then we put it on a balanced scale of the energy that we invest into chasing after silver and gold, and then we compare that with the energy that we invest being attentive to wisdom in all of the places that it's at, you got to measure your life like this. Which way is the scale tip? Is the scale tip toward work and getting the paycheck every month? Or is the scale tip toward understanding that God on the cattle on 1,000 hills. All the silver and gold is his. The earth is his. The earth is the Lord's. The fullness thereof. The whole world and everybody that dwells in it. You see, which way is your scale being tipped? Is it being tipped toward the way? Well, you know, I got to do the overtime and stuff, man. I got to trying to get this stuff done, and then wisdom is over here. Or is wisdom tipping the scale in your life that tell you God won't withhold no good thing from me that love him? You know what I'm saying? That he promised he'll bless me and supply all of my needs according to his righteousness. You see, which way is the scale tipping? Because you got to be the one to balance it with your life. And whatever you come back with, then now you understand what you need to do and some of the areas that you need to start making changes in. You see? So, I hope this is helping somebody. Yeah, I hope this is helping somebody. Proverbs 8th chapter. I don't want to go to the 8th chapter. Well, I guess I will. Now I'm going to go to Proverbs 9th chapter. Proverbs 9th chapter. Now let me show you something about wisdom. Because this is very important. This is very important. Wisdom speaks about the righteous and the wicked. And it speaks about the wise and the foolish. And no man has wisdom in every area of his life. And no man is a fool in every area of his life. So when you start looking at the book of Proverbs and you want to read that with an understanding, you understand that when it's talking about the righteous and the wicked and the foolish and the wise, it's not talking about two different individuals. It's talking about the twofold nature of a man. How in one instance, he has the capacity to operate in wisdom based on the things that he know and the instruction that he have received. And on the other hand, he has the capacity to operate as a fool, because men don't always receive correction or chastisement at the time that is given to them. So at the point that we become fools. And so he shows us our twofold nature of every single man. As an old preacher said, he said 1 minute they ready to build 3 tabernacles, and the next minute they cursing somebody out. It's the twofold nature of one man that we have the capacity to operate in areas of wisdom and be good at things, and then we have the capacity to operate as foolish men. So we have the book of Proverbs that gives us the instruction that we need, not only to lift us up and show us why we're being blessed when we operate in wisdom, but it also shows us the changes and where we need to turn around at when we are operating in ways that make us fools. So I thought I'd throw that in there because I think that was a very important point to make. Because sometimes when self-righteousness get in, you'll look at the book of Proverbs and you'll line up with all of the things that the wise person do, and then you'll look at somebody else when it comes to all the foolish things that somebody. But the reality is that you the wise man and the fool, you the righteous and the wicked, all at the same time, all wrapped up in one time. You can be as pleasant as all get out, because I know I fall in these areas just like anybody else. And I'm saying to myself, I can be on Facebook, I can do a video, it can be powerful, I can go and help somebody, I can do something, and I can come home and my wife can say something to me and it don't sit well with me, and next thing you know, I can be fussing at her, I'm arguing at her. I should just be quiet. But it shows you the difference that we had the capacity to be wise, and then we got the capacity to be fools. But we got to recognize those things for ourselves and then be willing to make the necessary change. Because I know I said, you know what? I'm going to get over that. I used to do that all the time. I said, I'm going to get over that because I'm getting tired of getting beat back and having to come, well, babe, I'm sorry. It wasn't you. I didn't mean to go off on you, but I've been having, just because you're having a bad day don't give you no right to lash out on other people. You know what I mean? But these are the things that we naturally do as people because we have wisdom and we have foolishness down in our heart. And we have righteousness and we have wickedness down in our heart. So we gotta deal with those things. Hold on 1 second. Facebook didn't freeze. That was me. Yeah. So let's see. Let's go to Proverbs 9th chapter. And let's see what we got. Wisdom hath built her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars, she hath killed her beast, she hath mingled her wine, she hath also furnished her table. She hath sent forth maidens and crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn and come in here. As for him that want understanding, she said, come and eat of my bread and drink of my wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. He that reprove a scorner gets him to himself shame, and he that rebuke a wicked man gets himself a blot. Now, this is wisdom. Because this is wisdom that teach you, brothers, how to use what God hath given you, how to use what you learning. He that corrects a scorner, that's what it says, gets to himself shame. If God giving you wisdom, you must be wise for yourself. That wisdom belongs to you. When you go and try to take it to somebody that don't care nothing about God's wisdom, nothing about God's righteousness, don't care nothing about no good, wholesome living and all that, but this is where you want to go and take it. He said, that's going to bring you to shame. And this is what I was telling you about the brothers and sisters. Many of you get brought to shame by people, and then you blame the people, when really it's you that don't know how to use the knowledge that God have given you. And so what you end up doing is you end up trying to correct and reprove people with what you know. They don't want what you have. And you trying to tell them, I know. So that's, one of those areas that, and this is what God's telling you, don't do that with what I give you. I'm not giving you what I'm giving you for that. I'm giving it to you so you can make a better set of choices with your life. I'm not giving it to you so you can go and reprove nobody. You go and reprove a scorner, that scorner going to bring you to shame. You see? And then you're going to walk away talking about, blessed me when men persecute you and revile you and speak all men. No, ain't nobody persecuting you. Ain't nobody reviling you. You just ain't learned how to use what you got because you ain't sought after God's wisdom first. And you're really doing what God is telling you not to do, but you don't know it because you ain't laid hold on that wisdom yet. So that's an area that y'all want to be careful in. It said, he that reproves a scorner gets to himself a shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man, he gets to himself a blot. You got no business rebuking nobody when they're in the midst of their wickedness. You see? I ain't got no, man, let me give you an example. Say fornication is classified as a wicked act. Now, say for instance, I know a brother, he just took a woman and went on in there, and they gonna do what they do. Now, why they in there naked and all that, doing they do? I'm righteous, man. I got the Bible. I come kicking through the door, gonna bust in, snatch him in his collar. Man, what you doing, man? Man, 9 out of 10 times, man, that dude gonna probably bust my head because he don't want what I got. If he wanted what I got, he would be living by it. You see? But I ain't got no business going over there trying to rebuke nobody that's in the act of wickedness. We are in acts that we desire to be in, and we move into those areas because that's what we want to do. And God's saying, if you warn this out here and you trying to rebuke somebody that's wicked, come on somebody's Facebook page. Oh, you shouldn't be using that profanity like that. You're going to get shame coming to you. Because where I'm coming from, every other word out of my mouth is a cuss word. And who the heck you think you are to try to rebuke me? I don't want what you got. I ain't bothering you. So this the Most High don't want you doing that. He don't want us doing that. He don't want us doing that. But let the truth be told, we do it more often than not. And when we get shamed or we get a blot on our life or blemish on us, we gonna blame them. Oh man, you know that dude don't like me. You know that dude don't like me. You know I try to tell him what was truth, but you know I don't compromise. You know I'm straight hard. I'm hardcore. I'm letting them have it for what it is. It's God's word. Yeah, it is God's word, but you got to learn how to use it. And if you're gonna learn how to use it, it's gonna take wisdom, and that wisdom comes from God too. Otherwise, you're gonna get a blot, and you're gonna get brought to shame. And it's happened to people. It happened to us on a daily basis. So it says, do not reprove a scorner, or else he gonna hate you for it. Rebuke a wise man, and he gonna love you. You better not never correct a scorner. He'll hate you to the day he die. He'll hate you to the day he die. I mean, hate you to the day he die. I ain't gonna say it ain't no family member, but I got this particular dude. He done hated me from the first day that he met me. You understand what I'm saying? He done hated me from the first day he met me, and I ain't never did nothing to him in my life. You know what I'm saying? But it's just something about that wisdom. Wisdom will make a man, the man's wisdom make his face to shine. And just sometimes you can just be, like the wisdom of Solomon says, is that people sometimes are convicted just by looking at your face. He said, but you better not reprove them, or you better not correct them, or they'll hate you to the day that you die. If you rebuke a wise man, he will love you for it. My brothers and sisters out there, guess what? We can tell whether you're wise or whether you're a fool based on how you respond when you get corrected. You see? Because our job is to correct the wise men and to rebuke the wise men when they're a little bit off, those that in pursuit of wisdom. And if you say you're in pursuit of wisdom, and then somebody that's older than you, wiser than you come along and rebuke you for stepping out of line, and you start biting back, you don't have no wisdom, you're a fool. Because according to what God's saying, a wise man will love you when you rebuke him. And I have some brothers that say, Elder, I didn't agree with you in the beginning, and you used to get on my nerves, but boy, I love you. And I'm telling you, if you ever see me out of bounds, you snatch me in my collar. That's what a wise man do. But if you rebuke somebody else and they don't have wisdom, they'll be mad and they'll get in their feelings and they'll think you against them. And they'll think you just meddling with them every chance you get. See, the wise man, he gonna love you when you rebuke him. Because you took the time, first off, to deal with him. And then second, what you rebuked him about, you gave him the answer or the solution to the problem that made his decision making get that much more tighter. He said that wise man, he'll love you for it. Love you for it. Yeah, so, give instructions to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase his learning. This is the difference between the wise man and a fool. The wise man, you see, that's the difference. If you give a wise man instruction, he going to be wiser. Why? Because he going to receive it, and he going to start living by it, and he going to incorporate it into his life. And then if you teach a just man, his learning is going to increase. Oh, wow. He's a just man. That means just man. That means his heart is right. His motive is pure. His intent is pure. And he genuinely has his ears on, listening for something that he can learn that will make him better off. He said, you teach a just man, he will increase in his learning. Wow, I've seen the scripture 100 times, never couldn't figure out what it meant. Now I know what it meant. That's because he was a just man, and he was genuinely looking and sitting out there at the feet of wisdom. So when you doing that to people that's genuinely trying to do it for the right reasons, then this is the reward that they get. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Understanding that the Most High has the power to affect the oxygen that goes into your lungs. That's the beginning of wisdom. Understanding that the house that you live in comes out of the earth that he created. That's the beginning of wisdom. Now you understanding that everything that you do, whether it's your job, whether it's your children, whether it's anything that you ever accomplished in your life, was a result of what God had done, what God had given you. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. When you understand that I don't have anything without him. And at any moment, he can take it back. At any moment, he can cast me down. You see, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And when we understand those things, then we put the Father in his proper place. I don't be crazy and hard on my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that what I got, God gave me. And he can take it from me at any given moment if I fail to use it or do with it what I'm supposed to do with it. If my brothers can't become benefactors of all of the things that he have done for me, see, I should be standing in a place and be very afraid. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Putting God in his proper place. You know? Understanding that's your brother. That's the Most High's child too. That's your sister. That's the Most High's child too. You see, putting God in his proper place is the beginning of wisdom. And the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Now, once you put God in his proper place, and then we start getting knowledge of who God is, that is where we start having a better understanding of what he expects for us and what he requires for our life. Remember what I told you? Anybody that got the power to affect the oxygen that's going in your body. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. You tell me that wouldn't rip fear on you. That God have control over the oxygen that goes in your body, and he can determine whether you live short life or whether you live a long life. That fear right there is the beginning of wisdom. Because wisdom going to give us instruction on how we supposed to live and how we going to live longer. You know, how we going to increase our living. You know, wisdom will tell a smoker. Wisdom will tell a smoker, such as myself, hey boy, you know what? You better find a way to stop smoking these cigarettes. Because if you don't, it's a possibility that cancer could be waiting on you. So it's like, okay, if I can't overdo, you know, the pack a day, I got to cut down to 10. I can't stop there because wisdom's still there. Hey, you know, I appreciate the 10 is good, but none is better. So you better do what you got to do. Well, I have to cut down to 10 and cut down to 5. But I can't be content right there because wisdom still saying, hey, you did a good job. You went from 20 to 10 and now you're down to 5. But it's better to be at none. And now you need to work on these 5. See, wisdom don't just leave you there content with what you consider I'm doing better. That sound good when we're talking to each other. Oh, I'm doing better in this area. I'm only doing this. But see, wisdom don't operate like that. She said, you know, you might tell your brother that, but you ain't doing better until you come all the way to the place to where it's nothing and it's gone. And that still ain't no guarantee that you won't die of cancer. But at least this, you got to decrease your probability. So we're using these examples just to make the scripture plain. If thou wilt be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself. And if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. Now, here's a line of distinction between two flip sides. If you'll be wise for yourself. And if you're a scorner, you're going to bear it alone by yourself. Now watch this. Watch how the Most High is. Check this out. Most people don't want to be wise for themselves. They'll look in the Bible, read the Bible, and learn all these things so that they can go and be wise for somebody else. Like what I mean is that so they can go constantly be telling somebody else what they need to do, what they should do, who they are, who they ain't, what, you know, so they'll be wise for somebody else. But when it comes to them scorning, they don't want to bear that by themselves. Oh, well, that's their fault. That's their fault. That's their fault. That's their fault. Well, the two of them go together. Because this is the psychology of one man. You see? It's the psychology of one man. If you'll be wise for yourself. That means that everything that you're learning, it needs to come back and it needs to start resonating right here. And it don't need to be going nowhere outside of you. It needs to be going right here because you'll be wise for yourself. You see? And when you being wise for yourself, you don't have to worry about becoming a scorner. But you try to be wise for somebody else, then make excuse when it's time for you to pay. Yep. So that's what that is. Yep. So and when it's time to pay, he said you will bear it alone, but you don't want to bear it all by yourself. You don't want to bear it all by yourself. When it comes time for you to suffer from, to be receptive of what comes back from you being a scorner, by not being wise. See, when you're not wise for yourself, when you only want to be wise trying to tell everybody this, that, you become a scorner. You know why you become a scorner? You become one that mock God. Because you're getting that, but you won't apply it to your life. You miss yourself and then go out there. And then when it's time for you to suffer for becoming a scorner, you don't want to bear it by yourself like the scriptures say. You see? You want to bear the wisdom that you're trying to give away by yourself. I proclaim myself. I'm the righteous one. This is what God's word says. This, that. You should do this. You shouldn't do that. This the Sabbath. That ain't the Sabbath. The Christian church is pagan. The Islamic brothers is no good. This is that. Our forefathers was that. Our name is Israel. The heathen is this. The Gentiles over there. Over there. See, God ain't giving you his wisdom for that. God giving you his wisdom so it can alter your life and change your genetic structure. And when you're doing that, you become a scorner. Because you miss yourself, the very person it was given to, you won't apply it to. And you looking and doing that, and you become a scorner. And when God start rebuking you for your scorner, you don't want to bear it by yourself like God said. That's that possible. Well, you know, if the heathens had us in slavery, we've been oppressed for 400 years. You know what? If Eve hadn't ate the apple, you know what? The Apostle Paul got blinded on the side of the road. You know what? Hey, if we didn't do that, if we didn't do this. See, you don't want to bear what comes from your scorning alone. But only thing you got to do is receive the instructions of wisdom, and you don't have to worry about becoming a scorner. Deal with your own life. My daddy used to tell my brothers, they didn't play that tattletale stuff. I mean, if it was some real trouble, they did something real bad, like disrespected some grown person or something like that, they better come and tell. But just little mediocre stuff, daddy, I mean, he did that, he did that. My daddy would say, boy, don't worry about the mule going blind. Keep your own ass in line. You can't worry about another man's mule that's eating grain in his backyard. And you worrying, what this mule doing over there? What this mule doing over there? Your ass over there bucking and and this kicking people. He broke people's fists and jumped out of the yard and running down the street. He said, don't worry about the mule going blind. You keep your ass in line. Keep your ass where it's supposed to be. Don't worry about nobody else's business. I can't understand how these Christians that they can do it in Santa Claus and Valentine's Day and why are you worrying about another man's mule? That's because you become a scorner yourself. And when it's time is right, you're gonna have to bear that scorning alone. So you know. Well, Donna, we try to keep the videos as real as we possibly can. using everyday life scenarios. That's my sweetie pie. I'm gonna have to end the video.